We all have this incessant need to feel important and to feel like we are in proximity to importance. And the second we do, even if that proximity yields nothing productive or otherwise, just nothing at all in our lives, it doesn't matter, because it satiates that internal desire to feel, look, be perceived as important and powerful and connected. So 3 years ago, at 26 years old, I moved to Washington, D.C. I moved to Washington, D.C. because I was campaigning prior to that with a person who won Congress, who was running for Congress, and then they won. Fast forward, they won. They called and were like, actually, I want you to come with me. I loved your work and I loved the time that we spent together during the campaign, and I would love to just extend that time. And I was like, cool, let's go. Went to Congress, the most amazing experience of my life. Imagine a 26-year-old girl, young woman rather, who had, well, let me not lie, I had been around the world and I've seen a few things and I had done a few things. So I guess I can't say I hadn't been anywhere, but I went to 2 small colleges and didn't know much about the world as I thought that I did, right? But because at 26 and 25 and 23 and 24, so on and so forth, you think you know everything. But lo and behold, I did not. And so I got to Congress, fast forward, and it was the most amazing experience of my life. And I couldn't have asked for a better catalyst into adulthood. Truly could not have asked for a better time. Now, I know you're probably wondering, okay, so why did you title the video, Why I Left Congress? Well, it's a multifaceted reason. I can assure you, these are just objective things from my experience that I went through, that I want to share, and that also kind of help to lay the groundwork for my new baby. It's not political. It's not a memoir, save your request. It's not anything like that. It's genuinely just, actually, it's not political, the case for mass divestment from popular culture. Again, Raven, what does that have to do with politics? What are you even, I'm going to explain in a second, okay? So keep following along. And also, I don't know the timestamp of when you'll be watching this video. This video will probably come out before the book comes out. But by the time you watch this video, if it is past March 21st, 2024, I don't even know why this book ain't on your shelf. Honestly, you should probably pause this video and go buy this book. Okay. Anyway, so why I left Congress. Let's hop into it. One of the more positive things that I took away, and actually not even just positive, one of the most beautiful, profound truths that I took away while working in Congress was a deep appreciation and admiration for the way that our process works. Now, I get the controversy behind even saying a statement like that, because first, everything that you hear about Congress, just generally, and politics overall, is steeped in negativity. It's steeped in tribalism. It's steeped in an automatic bias that we all kind of inherently have, right? That's one of the privileges of being born in America, or being here in America in general, is that we know dissent and protest so well, because it's so deeply embedded into the DNA and the fabric of who we are as a country, that we're so accustomed that to as soon as we hear the word government or as soon as we hear the word politics, we immediately go to the thought of critique, and we immediately start to critique. Rightfully so, right? Let's be clear. And right now we're not getting into the specifics of politics, but rightfully so. We have plenty to critique and be angry about. But for the sake of this video, I'm just saying, I know when I say something like that, like I grew a deep appreciation and admiration for the system and for our government system, you can be a little confused because we're so accustomed to dissent. But I developed such a deep admiration and appreciation for our system of government, because while there, and see, I'm a little poor Black girl from St. Louis, y'all. So I hadn't ever been in the Capitol whatsoever. I had never visited, actually prior to getting the job in DC and having to go up there back and forth to search for apartments and things like that, I hadn't even been to the nation's capital, literally. And so I didn't like the full weight and veracity of what it was or what it is and what it all means and represents. I just hadn't experienced that ever. And so my thoughts and ideology were steeped in anti-America, anti-government, anti-everything system or related to America, right? Understandably so. I'm a Black woman who grew up in a really, really poor city, generally speaking. I mean, it wasn't always historically poor, but you get my point. You Midwestern girlies or the Detroit girlies, y'all know the cities have beautiful beautiful and rich histories. But as of today, right, present day, industry has left, relatively speaking, and then the city starts to become more and more dilapidated over time. Okay, anyway, those are all tangents. The point is, I hadn't seen DC. And I hadn't seen or gotten the opportunity to really understand why I should have a deep respect and admiration for the country that I live in. Nonetheless, when I got there and I just was able to take it all in, and I was able to be truly on the front lines of contending with constituents, right? And when I say constituents, for those who are unaware, it's okay. Constituents literally mean the people who live in the districts that the Congress people and the senators, who they all represent. So having the opportunity to contend with constituents via letters and phones and meetings, and seeing how they had the opportunity to just come into this open space, which was our office, right? And other offices, you could come in, a person off of the street, you'd have to get pat down or whatever, but you could come in, see your representative, maybe not directly, of course, because they're busy people, but you can meet with a person from their office, generally speaking, and offer your grievances, offer your perspectives. To what degree they get answered or responded to, okay, there is some gray area there for sure. But even the very fact that that is permissible and that is possible, that's a beautiful truth that I just hadn't had the opportunity to contend with, let alone appreciate, see, value, and appreciate, right? And so coming away from Congress, I just developed such a deep joy and admiration for our system of government. It's not perfect. It's not the best. It's nowhere near perfect, actually, because no system where imperfect people are will be perfect. But as a person who was coming from deeply entrenched liberal politics, deeply entrenched thought, ideology, perspective, and all of it, I just wasn't aware to the extent that I needed to be. And so that was such an enriching experience that I can't ever. It changed me. Let's just put it that way. It deeply changed me. And every critique that I hear of our country now is colored with that, right? And so now it's a matter of critique to an expected end of better, not critique so that I can see the demise of this place. Because I think this is a beautiful place. And I don't want us to ever get lost in that because of our ability to critique it and to have issue with it, right? I think that's a beautiful thing, that we can take issue with our country. So anyway, what matters most for the sake of this video is that a couple of the things that I saw that really drove me out, nothing in particular about any specific person, but just the system and people inherently, is the drive and the need and the obsession with power and proximity to power. And I get it, right? Because that's human nature. Inherently, we all want to feel a great esteem and feel like we are somebody and that the world knows our name and that we matter. We all have this incessant need to feel important and to feel like we are in proximity to importance. And the second we do, even if that proximity yields nothing productive or otherwise, just nothing at all in our lives, it doesn't matter, because it satiates that internal desire to feel, look, be perceived as important and powerful and connected, right? And again, that's an inherent human trait, so I have no judgment for it whatsoever. But the closer I got to that, a faction of people that is at the forefront of their life, and it's so externally seen so much, the more I was like, okay, I can't be here. I can't be here. Because the longer I was there, the more my life became less about mission and purpose and actually being impactful in the world. And it became more steeped into the theatrics of it all, right? And the opulence, right, of it all. And to keep it real, the hedonism of it all. But I got obsessed with how much I knew, how much the people around me knew, the amount of intellect, so to speak, that was around me. and how that became the answer. So much so that what I saw around me consistently were two factions of people. And when I say two, I mean like our political system right now. I'm digging deep into our political system and where I think there are errors. So this is becoming less about me and more just generally about human nature and how human nature has like shown itself in American government. It's everywhere, but right now we're specifically talking about us. I started to see how, I think it's Jordan Peterson that says, we began to be possessed by our ideas rather than possessing ideas, right? It became ideologues, and it became about, what did my tribe say or what did your tribe say? And I get it, right? Because this is a system. Kind of going back to my original point about how I love America and I love what I was able to bear witness to, because all I saw was continuity in government. When you're in the Capitol, if you haven't had a chance to go, you really need to go. And when you walk into the Capitol and you see these statues from people of old, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, you just develop such a deep appreciation or a deep understanding. You develop a deep understanding for how much it took for this country to sustain in the way that it has. And in that sustaining, you understand that like, oh, it's taken so much for us to get to this place where we have a peaceful transfer of government, right? And how beautiful that system is. And so I say that to say, I see how you can become obsessed with it and drawn into it. People get obsessed with the power there. It's so much so that you lose yourself. And while there, I saw a lot of people lose themselves. And I saw a lot of people become possessed with ideas rather than possess ideas. And I saw a lot of people compromise externally and then internally have conversations about how they feel about specific things. But you have to bend for the sake of public narrative, for the sake of public perspective, for the sake of how you'll be viewed. And I couldn't do it. Again, this isn't about any one specific person, but rather the system. Bless the people who do work there, because I don't want this video to whatsoever be a video about anti-politics or anti-government or anti-voting or anti-anything about our democracy, because I am pro-American, I am pro-democracy. Controversial take, unpopular opinion, that I don't care. I am so pro-America, and I am so pro-voting, and I am so pro our democracy, even with all of its fallen nature on both sides of the perspective. I get it. Oh, fake voting or voter ID, this, I hear it all. I don't care. I don't care. Because it's only in our continual commitment to contend with it will it continue to be refined. Because take us back 50 years ago and tell me how the system was then, and then 50 years prior to that. It's only through our continual commitment to contend with it will it continue to progress. So I don't know why you love it so much, because miss me with it. Anyway, so God bless the people that are there. But I had to leave because I realized that I'm not an ideologue. I can't be steeped in ideologue thinking. It's not about what perspective you come from politically. It has nothing to do with if you're a Republican or Democrat. Sometimes it's about just doing what's right and deviating from what's wrong. And we need to find a way to make that the crux of our government and of our personal politics individually and collectively, so that it can start to reflect in the collective. Governing bodies are a collective of imperfect people, so I'm never expecting it to be perfect whatsoever. But individually, we can push ourselves more toward morality, and we can pursue things that are higher than ourselves. And in order to do that, we have to acknowledge that there are intrinsic morals and intrinsic values that exist on the inside of us as humans, and we have to be willing to admit to them and own up to them and call them out in one another. And we have to be willing to keep coming to the table. So I left Congress because I want to facilitate those sorts of conversations. And Congress is just too rigid to do things like that. You have to play the party lines. And I wasn't with it. I'm not with it. I'm for what's right. And honestly, I think most people are too, including the people in Congress, politicians down to the staff. I think all people intrinsically know what's right and what's morally good, but because we're naturally tribal, as humans, we immediately deviate to our corners. And so I wrote this lovely little baby because I want us to have a means to come out of our corners and have conversation with one another about what's right and what's wrong. Not what did my people say and what did your people say. Couldn't do it. And I couldn't do it personally. So that's why I left Congress. Okay, that video probably wasn't as juicy as you thought it was going to be, but I hope you gathered something from it. And if you didn't, that's okay. You still need to go buy this book because it is so good. I'll keep coming back on and giving you guys, I'll maybe do like some chapter reads or something, or maybe we'll dive into chapter by chapter and kind of just have some discussion about it. You guys let me know what you're interested in seeing. But either way, I just kind of wanted to come on here and give some backstory to why the book is literally titled It's Not Political and has the capital on the front cover. That was a big part of my life. 3 whole years of my life. I literally can't even believe it. And now we're here in seminary on a whole new journey. So y'all be praying for me and y'all be keeping me in your thoughts. And until next time, okay? Love you guys. Talk to you soon.